no throttle response whatsoever. So it's just running up on the engine itself, just idling away quietly, doing 20 miles an hour. So I'm assuming that that is it in its own self-defense mode. Don't quite understand the coil, the preheat or whatever it is. So there you go. What's today? Monday, 20th of November. And the ongoing saga of this Caddy, which is weird. One moment it's perfectly fine, runs like hell, and then there's some gremlin that's messing around, and meaning that the throttle doesn't respond. So today you'll see rain, it's wet. So again, you don't really want to do electrics when it's wet. But the idea for me is to disassemble this whole scuttle again, remove the ECU, clean up all the plugs just with a brush and some contact cleaner, reassemble that, but at the same time obviously disconnect the battery and all its terminals, and you'll find that there's this kind of a setup. So I'm guessing the main terminal, disconnect, make sure there's no contact. That way, in my book at least, the ECU is protected. But for the moment, I just need to wait for this rain to stop, which is quite irritating, and come back, disassemble, take all this apart again, the same as I did last week when I was cleaning out the whole scuttle area. Had I known then, I would have probably undone the ECU and cleaned that up as well. But in the meantime, let's see if this thing starts, because yesterday there was no response. Earlier today, the throttle started fine and everything seemed to work as it should. So we'll start it up. We'll try. There you go. So now it works absolutely fine. But I guarantee you, you drive down the road 2 miles and the throttle will disappear. So I guess what's left is to make sure that all these contact points are actually cleaned up. Make sure there's contact cleaner on everything, and then while I'm at it, I'll actually go in under the dash, disassemble that whole lot again, see if I can, not see if I can, but I'll remove the throttle position sensor, which is probably about yay size. It's really tucked up quite high in an awkward place and position. But I don't want to do this while it's sort of drizzling and miserable and wet. And then basically make sure that I get the part numbers off that, because a buddy of mine, Sam, has a spare working unit that he's prepared to sell me. So I'd probably end up buying that if the numbers correlate between that part and the part that he's got, because I couldn't get one at Euro Car Parts last week when I wanted to just buy one outright. So we'll see where this takes us. This is such a nice little van, but it's just this bloody intermittent problem, and it could be something big, it could be something really, really, really simple, but it's a matter of figuring it out, and until we figured it out, we don't know. Somebody's pissed off in the street again, but then people always drive like idiots out here. So there you go. We'll be back with this lot, and once the weather changes, I'll climb in, disassemble and clean up, reassemble, and then see if I can get this throttle position sensor out and get onto that. So yeah, welcome to the show. Like, subscribe, do all the usual things that people ask of you or of you on YouTube, and we'll come back with some more later. Cheers for now. Right, taken off the covers. Everything is down this side. The wipers are over there. Looks nice and tidy, obviously, because I cleaned it up the other day. When you then come in and you look at the ECU and you look underneath there, that's a bit of a dirty mess. So clearly this has had a good life of being wet and mucky. So the plan is to remove these two plugs at least, just clean them out. I'm just going to use a nail brush so that I've got plastic on the metal tines and tabs and points. I don't want to damage anything. And then use some of my electrical contact spray. Hopefully that'll help for everything to be a little bit more cleaner, and take it from there. I'm not doing anything more than that. The next step will be to remove the throttle position sensor from underneath the dash, which is another pain in the bum job. But for the moment, this looks like it's come off a bloody boat out in the ocean. It is so badly corroded, but you can see. Hopefully that will make a difference once I've cleaned all of this up. So yeah, we'll be back in a bit with some more swearing and cursing and shouting. Right, let's see. We've got a sharp knife. It's always a good way to screw up things. There's all this muck, and I'm not sure if actually just doing that, getting the worst of the oxidation off the top of this, so at least when I undo these plugs, then I don't end up pouring a whole lot of shit into this thing, because you don't want the contacts getting contaminated more by the amount of oxidation that's around here. That's a lot of dirt stuck in here, and I was going to disassemble this, but there's one little nut in there that has to come off the bulkhead. Trying to get my size hands in there to reassemble will be a bit of a madness. It's not impossible, but then you end up having to disassemble the whole wiper unit, and I'm not doing that because sometimes these things are set up to reasonably fine tolerances for the way that they sweep. If I was able to undo that, this unit is loose, so you could actually literally just pull it out. As you can see there, I've undone it halfway already, so it just has a pair of slots into which the base feet slide into. But for the moment, I think the answer is literally just this. Do that, put this aside. None of this is actually very clever, because obviously I'm not a professional. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, so I'm just doing it kind of intuitively, trusting that all this muck, removing it is one of the answers we need. Finding more loose muck and stuff in here than I care for. And to be honest, using my little paintbrush that I've got just to brush the worst of that away will probably help. The brush seems to be not too mucky and dirty and contaminated. The whole thing is to try and keep these guys as clean as possible when they come out. I'm assuming, once again, I do a lot of assuming in this stuff, is that if you lift these little clips, it will release either the whole unit or at least part of it. Right, I think that is the answer. These side clips seem to slide out, So hopefully here we go, they keep everything together. When I look at that, it looks extremely clean. Looking in on the pins in there, it looks extremely clean. So I'm guessing that this may have stayed as a reasonably clean closed unit over time. I'm not sure if it's clever or not, but I am going to spray just some contact cleaner into all of that, and then I'm actually just going to reassemble it because I cannot see any oxidation, at least with my clear eye, in there. This has got a seal, an extra rubber seal with about 4 little layers, I guess. So you probably find that the seals are pretty well watertight unless you force it in with a pressure cleaner or something. So for the moment, all I'm going to do is literally spray in some contact cleaner into both of these ends. I will also do one at a time. Whether it makes any difference to the throttle position sensor, I have no clue, but we'll give it a go, in the hope that that makes some kind of a difference. If it doesn't, I've got a nice scrap Caddy to sell. And obviously we'll leave this to dry. Not being hot today, being overcast and a bit cool, it'll take a bit longer to dry than it normally would. So I'll reassemble that once I think it's sufficiently dry. And in the meantime, I'll carry on with the next plug, which hopefully will be as clean as the first one. Back to the screwdriver, pull this unit out, and that should allow me to remove, there we go, that, which once again looks exceptionally clean. All the contacts look clean, so I'm just going to spray these, go in and have a coffee, and that's probably long enough for it to dry out, reassemble this, and then get on to the big job, which is that underneath. Whether that makes any difference is entirely up to the car. One can only hope. So for now, that's all I'm doing, which is not a lot. It's less than I wanted to do. But I'm hoping that with these being as clean as they are, they will be essentially uncorroded, and even just moving the pins and the plugs in and out will be enough to, if anything was in doubtful contact, will be enough to actually allow that to reconnect properly. I'll reconnect the battery, hopefully it'll start up again, but we'll be back in a few minutes. Right, some time has gone by and I think it's time to reassemble this lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to pray about any of this, but I do hope that it just becomes a really happy little part to the car. Make sure you've got the slidey thing completely out the way, and then that clip retains the whole lot, puts it back together properly. Same that side. There you go. And actually interesting, as you push it in, it pulls the retaining clips back by itself. That's all I'm going to do on this. Next job will be to reassemble quickly, just get the battery back together. That's easy enough. Just my very technical, where are we? my very technical, shall I call it technical? I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, but very advanced isolation system using a milk bottle cap over the top of the battery terminal. That to me was good enough to keep all of this. There we go. We got some little sparks doing its thing. And then just tighten up this lot again. Hopefully that's all we need. Just make sure it's tight. Because obviously a bad contact doesn't do you any favors either. Right. That's about as tight as I want it to be. Reassemble all of that. Just double check that this little guy, the earth on the other side, is actually tight as well, just for the hell of it while we're down here. It's taken a bit more tension. There we go. My homemade double insulator, there was a whole lot of water lying on top of it, interestingly, earlier on. So that would have been on top of the ECU had this not been in place. I suspect these little things do make a difference, so I'll just refit that as well. And that's an easy-ish one. I just cut 2 gaps where the terminals and the cables come through. So now, basically, when any water does get in here, at least it runs off the sides and not straight into and on top of this unit. That might be doing the car some favors. I guess the next trick is just to see if the car starts. So, get the keys, move all this stuff off the front because you really don't want spanners and stuff dropping down. See if we can get this thing started. It should start, considering I've just put everything back together as it was. Right, so that's part 1. Throttle works, but that doesn't mean a bloody thing. I don't think that makes any difference. I'm still going to go down, disassemble all of that, remove the cubby hole, remove the cover underneath there, and then you've got to go in there and up to about there to remove the throttle position sensor, and see if I can find another replacement unit for that, because that, I don't know, the ads that I saw were around £60. Hopefully that is going to be the price of success. I can only hope. Let's turn it off, turn it back on. Still works. You see, this is the problem with intermittent faults. They come, they go, they mess with you, and then next thing you see, you sell the car for scrap and somebody else starts it up and it doesn't ever give that problem again, which is why I'm kind of patient and I'll keep trying to make sure that this thing gets to work, because really it is a really, really nice van in my opinion. For what it is, it'll be the right car for me for some time. So yeah, next job. Crawl in there like a snake and try and get my ham fists in there. We'll be back. So, success, if there's such a thing as success. I managed to become a 3-legged octopus, and a double jointed one at that, to try and get this thing out, because those 2 Allen heads that hold it down in its bracket are pretty awkward to get to, especially the back one, but hopefully, well, it's out for a start. Hopefully I'll be able to reassemble it once I get a replacement. This is kind of what it says from a number point of view, what this item is. They apparently differ, so the part numbers will differ between different cars. Maybe it's the supplier code, I don't know. But the bottom line is throttle position sensor removed with its little cable and activities and actions and whatever. So now I just need to either buy one new, or maybe if Sam has one to sell, then I will replace mine with a used one from Sam. There's another code which I can't quite read. When you get old you need glasses. Don't have glasses on today, but anyway. So yeah, that's it basically. I'm hoping that once I replace this, the intermittent throttle disappearing, throttle response stopping, will be gone, and that I've got my Caddy back the way I wanted, the way I drove it the first day, 100 miles of perfect unadulterated fun. So yeah, there we go. Enough of that. Right, after speaking to a couple of people, including Zebedee Westy down in Wales, the suggestion is that I take out the whole of the ECU, open it up, and see if the key lies to the actual circuit board maybe having either a dry or a corroded contact for the two faults that have come up. This is one of those where you can see the size of my hands fitting in there, getting to that little guy over there. It's a 10mm. I've managed to undo most of it with a tightly fitted socket. I tried to get this in here, but of course it's more drop and fall than anything else, and I'm not going to be disassembling all of the wiper. So for the moment I'm trying to just unscrew this. I'm not sure where this is going to land when it falls off, but this is one way of getting the ECU out, I guess. In fact, it's the only way. So let's just see if I can hang on to this carefully. Excellent. Right, so we've got this little guy. He can just stay probably in my pocket, safest place. Everything stays in my pockets. Right, so now the ECU can be undone. The next job will be to undo these two side clips, because once they're undone you can actually pull it off. You can just get a screwdriver. Easier with a flat screwdriver, I think. Should just get this undone. As you can see, comes straight out all the way, and the plugs come undone. Same on the other side. Just need to get in there carefully. I hate the idea of breaking things unnecessarily. Right, so that one's halfway out. There you go, all the way, and we have screwdriver in pocket, never a good place, but the only place. And we have an ECU released and free. So what I'm going to do, take it indoors and see what is to be seen. As you can see, it's a bit of a messy thing. The underside similarly, quite corroded. That was tucked full of leaves, and you can see there's still a little bit of muck down there. So one of my jobs will be to clean up that space before I reassemble. So for the moment, take this indoors, see if I can get inside of that. There's got to be a way, and clean it up. So next step coming up. Bloody cat. He likes crisps.